Hey everybody, and welcome to your first video homework assignment of the year in Mr. G's physical science class. So, we're going to start the year off with the topic of measurement. So if you look here, we are going to be starting with chapter 1, measurement. Like I said, there's 4 sections to this chapter. 1.1 measurements, 1.2 time and distance, and so on. Now, we're not going to be going over every single chapter in this book, but we will be covering a lot of it. So, to begin with, what I'm going to do in this video is not only give you the beginning information, the first chunk of info for the year, but I'm also going to walk you through exactly how I want you to take notes. So, to begin with, when you open up your notebook, when starting a new chapter, this is what I would like you to write. Right at the top of the page, Chapter 1, Measurement. Obviously, when we start new chapters, you're going to write something different, but this should be the first note that you take for the year. All right, going back to this slide. Now you can see the first unit that we're going to go is 1.1 measurements. So what I'd like you to write down when you see this and when I tell you is this, 1.1 measurements. And that's going to be the title for this page of your notes. Notice that I also added some underlines to the chapter title to make it stand out. And I'm also underlining measurements itself. Okay, so now we're on to our next slide. Section 1.1 learning goals. Don't write all these down. I'm going to tell you which one we're going to go over per video at the start of each one. So for this one, we're just going to do the first bullet point, define measurement. So what I'd like you to write down from here on out is this. At the start of each video and the start of each notes, we're going to have a learning goal. What you need to make sure you are able to do by the end of the video and by the time I see you the next day in class. So what I've done here is I've put learning goal in very big letters and starred that goal. Going back to it so you guys can see it, it is define measurement. Notice that I also highlighted all this information because I find it to be very important. If you don't have a highlighter, that's okay, but if you do, go for it. All right, so measurements, what are they? We've measured a bunch of things in our life. You look at a clock, you're measuring time. Like, for example, this stopwatch right here. We're going to use this in class a lot. Let me turn it on. We're going to be using this a lot in class. And I can hit start. It's going to count down. This is currently measuring time as it goes by. If you guys have ever been in a car, which you probably have, you might have noticed that behind the wheel you'll see the speedometer, odometer ticking. That's measuring the speed of the car. So measurements are very vital in life in general, and they're extremely important in science. So let's define exactly what they are. A measurement is the determination or a determination of the amount of something. So let me show you how I wrote this down. Now this is going to show you the entire slide, but we'll come back to it. Notice that it says measurements at the top. Then the first bullet point that I just wrote. A measurement is a determination of the amount of something. Awesome. Let me jump back to the slide. Notice that at the top of the slide it says 1.1 measurements. Ignore the 1.1 on future slide. The only time you're going to need to put the 1.1 is at the very top of your notes. This will make more sense in the videos to come. And I'll go over with you in class if you're confused. So, a measurement is a determination of the amount of something. How much? And it has 2 parts, a number value and a unit. So, jumping back over to the notes again, this is what I wrote. Exact same thing, a measurement has 2 parts, a number value and a unit. So let's look at that example on the side. On the right you can see a boy, and to his right or left is a dog. Notice the red arrows. You can see that the dog has a height, while measuring up to his back, of 2 feet. That's the measurement. The number value is 2, and the unit is feet. while the boy has a height of 2 meters. Number value 2, unit of meters. Now listen to me very closely. Units. Units. I'm going to say units so many times this year. They are so unbelievably important. If you went to the grocery store and bought something and the guy says at the cashier, or the cashier says to you, all right, that'll be 5 cents? $5? Doesn't make sense without that unit of cents and dollars at the end. So units are extremely important. And I'm going to be bringing up this throughout the year. Units, 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 units. So back to this. The dog has a measurement of 2 feet. The boy is a measurement of 2 meters in height. Now, you don't have to draw pictures, but take a look at what I did. I added them, very easy little stick figures, an example. Awesome. Looks good, helps me out. So that's an example of what you're going to do with your notes. That's actually all the notes you're going to take today. I'm going to give you a little more examples now. If you'd like to add them to your notes, by all means, do so. So a couple of other examples. We already went over time. So this stopwatch before was measuring time passing, and I had stopped it at 5.92 seconds. 5.92 is the number, and seconds is the unit. Here we have a meter stick and a ruler, 2 objects for measuring length. They'll do inches and they'll do centimeters. Those are both units. This meter stick also measures in centimeters, millimeters, we'll learn all these things, and in inches. So those are all unit names, inches, meters, feet. Some other examples. This is what's known as a graduated cylinder. This measures a volume, and if you look really close at the top, it says 50 ml. That stands for milliliters. 50 number unit, ml is the unit. Sorry, 50 is the number, ml is the unit. We'll explain this more in class. One more example, well, 2 rather. Here I have a beaker filled with water. This is also measuring in milliliters, that's volume. And inside of it, you'll see I have a thermometer. We'll get to that in a second. But number, value, 500. This is actually less than 500, so it's a certain number value. We're not going to read it. ml, milliliters, unit. Thermometer is going to measure the temperature of something. So if you look closely, I'm going to lift this up slightly so you can see that this has a number value of, this is at 23 right now. And you would never say it's 23 out because, well, maybe most people around in the United States know what that means, but that's cold to us. You go to another country that doesn't use Fahrenheit, like in Europe, and it's totally different. So this is actually in the units of degrees Celsius. We'll learn more. So number value of 20, unit of degrees Celsius. So that is our first little section. That is our first video. I'll see you guys in class.